kick things off. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ulrika Viharvalli from CSC, and this is the EOSC Finnish Forum webinar for the Gravity cascading grants. And we'll go through what they are, what the timeline or the deadlines are, and how you can go about applying and who can apply. And I'll take care of that kind of practicalities of taking a look at the grants overall. But before that, we've got Jessica here, and she's the node coordinator for the EOSC Finland candidate node. So we'll start with the presentation on Jessica, because we want that context of how these cascading grants link to the EOSC Finland node, and then how these grants can be used potentially then to further develop the node as well. What we'll do is that we will have the presentations first, so Jessica first, and I will then follow up after her. And after that, we will take questions. So if you have questions for Jessica, just keep that in mind, or have them written up, put them in the chat or something like this. But we will take all of the questions in one go after we've both done the presentations as well. We are recording the webinar, but we won't record the Q&A. So we'll post the recording after that, and that Q&A then won't be recorded. Okay. So I think with this, Jessica, I'm more than happy to hand over to you. And if you want to share your screen, we can test it out.
Thank you. So I will try to give a short and compact presentation and practical presentation of what this looks like from my point of view now. So CSC won't be applying for these grants, but for if you want to apply for one of these grants, then you would need to agree with us and get this sort of recommendation or reference letter. So we need to, if you want to apply for onboarding or federating with the national candidate node, then please be in touch. And I will here have some thoughts and ideas regarding like where we are at with the national node and what kind of things could be. But these are also only like my proposals and ideas. As you know, the sorts of rules for participation and onboarding and access are still quite vague, so any good ideas or proposals I'm really happy to hear. So basically, just as background, the memorandum of understanding for this federation was signed for the Finnish node in the beginning of November. On behalf CSC that signed it on behalf of this Finnish node, and the role of CSC here is to provide sort of this core capabilities for federation and catalogs and stuff. And then we really want to build this federation together, so both on a national level and then on a EOSC level. So so as such, I think the EOSC Federation and should be in Finland should be sort of all of us together working for the researchers. So we have basically agreed on a sort of a policy governance model where the goal is to sort of implement the DAHA reference architecture, which describes this target state that is really nicely described for us a user-centric and well-integrated set of services for the researcher. We have already also started the group with the EOSC working group under the Open Science and Research Coordination. And there we have been discussing and testing and trying out what federation could mean and how we could bring bring together our services to really help the researchers. And this is sort of a background also work for what I'm presenting today. And this group is open for all. So if you want to join, just be in touch with the avointiede.fi page. You can find it there. And then we have this EOSC Finnish Forum, the coordinating committee that we have the Open Science Coordination, the Ministry of Education, CSC, and as a member, the Finnish members of the EOSC Association. And we are currently here in the webinar. Well, just in general, more high level thinking around this, what we are trying, what the challenges are, finding services are hard to find. It might be hard to find data and software. It's currently our services in Finland don't very well support these reproducible research processes. Our researchers have to use quite a lot of time for manual documentation and relationship between outputs. And there are sort of a lot of documentation and tasks, things that feel perhaps for the researcher not so relevant for their core processes and core tasks. So we need to be better at that, I think, via this federation. So what we really want to achieve is machine readability and the possibility to exchange information sort of between services, so that this would lessen the burden. We would like to make services more findable. We would like to support better workflows and new types of fair publication of data. And in general, help creating these links and metadata. So these are things that we are thinking about and aiming at. And of course, this unified user management and access management is one thing where we now have a European solution, the My Access ID, that's based on Edugain. So we are doing now this federation on 2 levels. On the national level, where we are quite mature actually. We have strong reference architectures. We have a target state described. We have a national CRIS repository. We have national data catalogs for datasets in repositories, which can be. This is a concept that can be broadened. We have the software catalogs, which we are creating regarding researchers' software. That's a difficult piece, but we have a catalog at CSC for the software that are available in our environment. We have a national service catalog, data model. So this service catalogs can be part of this project. And then we already, of course, have the Hookup Federation in place. But there you could think, if you have some service where you would like to have like a single sign-on login system, something that could be an option. But I will come to the options later on. Then we have the EOSC level, where we have these challenges because the architecture is outdated. We know we have OpenAIRE for the catalogs in the EU node, so that's where we need to federate. and which we are doing on behalf of the national node. So that's not something you need to worry about if you just onboard your stuff in our catalogs. Same regarding all all these resources that there are catalogs in EOSC, and from there we can of course fetch information that's relevant. And then there is my access ID, and this is one option that is available for you if you want to register your Haka and your service with my access ID. Then in that way you can do an EOSC Federation yourself with your service. So currently EOSC.fi, we are almost a real service now because we have a real incident where we changed the web page providers and now the redirect is broken. So if you want to visit the EOSC.fi, you need to go to the research CSC research.csc.fi dash or what we call it, this slash s and then again slash and then EOSC.fi. Then you find, no, it's that EOSC. Then you find the page, but that's I hope to get this fixed, and we are working with the productization of this whole node now. So it should be available soon. We have been working on this for some days. Now the key things, and I think we want to think about when we are building these cases, is the user centricity. And now we are thinking about that. We have sort of two use cases. We have a researcher looking for data, or we have a user looking for a service. And now this is a thing. These concepts are a bit different from what we are used to thinking about, maybe. So, for instance, now if you think about a data repository, it might offer a service if you really offer the opportunity for the researcher to publish data. But if you only offer content, then you should be presented as data. So these are the sort of use cases we have been working with. So I was just thinking about that. Where does a researcher even look for data? I think they might. I mean, the key is, of course, that you at least have metadata that is available and possible for other services to index. Then you can even find it via Google. And I missed an S here. But this and one thing is that's also sort of what we are lacking currently is this more research databases. So we don't have metadata necessarily for research databases or APIs or data streams or whatever other, like currently our conception of research data in the catalogs is they are repository catalogs. So this is something we might want to address here. And here, this is part of a subset of the research resource categories, which are in the Federation Handbook, which is currently being reviewed. We will have a new version in a couple of months, the latest. But you see here that they have these research data sources and sources where data can be found and retrieved, repositories and archives, knowledge bases, and databases fall into this category. And then they have research data, which are more the output type of thinking, the traditional repository type of thinking. So this means that the concepts model is something like this in the Federation Handbook. The EOSC node offers research resources and they can be products, which are the classical sort of research outputs that you find in OpenAir or tutkimustietovaranto. Then there are services, and then there is this category of research data source, which actually is sort of the same partly as this, but you can find this research data in repositories or in databases, and this provides data. And then we have this tool category, which is a bit related to the software category, but necessarily not the same. So these things are something we are still discussing in the EOSC Federation. So it's a bit open, and as mentioned, there is a new version of the Federation handbook coming, so we will be getting more clear definitions, I hope, to help us out. But I think this is really interesting, this research database, because that's something that has not been easy to find, and if you want to sort of onboard data, then you can onboard like repositories or services or sources. So this is something you can think about. The other thing you can onboard to the node is then our services. So this is something that's maybe especially interesting for research organizations if you have stuff that's not directly in the national infrastructures currently and don't fit easily into TTV. But we can also think that you could describe them here. This is something we could also test out and then see if we can fetch them to the EOSC service catalog. The point is that this node catalog would offer sort of a set of services that's relevant for the end user, because it contains both services that they can use that are from EOSC, from elsewhere in Europe, and services that come from Finland that are onboarded. And yeah, and currently the thinking is that we could have both that the service would be either open or data, whatever you onboard, that is either open or then available via Haka or via My Access ID. So then it would be a sort of federated either on the national or the international level. So ideas for what you could perhaps do is productizing and describing a service and then onboarding it to the EOSC Finland candidate node. And then, yeah, we would need it to be Haka federated at least. If it's not, then we could think about that. Is there the single sign-on? Is there something we can do about that? I'm not sure I understand this AI enough myself, but but we could find out. Then you could also federate other resources with, or your resources with EOSC. Or then you could help us develop this research data source concept, the solutions, and we could be looking at our data set as a service and be looking at this. How could we make some of your resources more easy to discover for researchers, and maybe more close to compute? Would you like to offer something with a nice integration to Lumi or something? So these are things we could discuss if you have some ideas. So this is I didn't put our webpage here now because I was going to, but as mentioned, it's not around, so no use going there now, I think, unfortunately. Okay, but now Ulrika can tell more about what it formally says. These were just my ideas. So onboarding data or productizing a service or database or service or making some kind of a federation. But be in touch if you have ideas.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. And again, questions for Jessica will be taken after the second presentation. So just keep them in mind for now. So that was a really good overview of what's happening with the EOSC Finland node and where we are, as well as some really good suggestions of how this grant could be used to onboard things onto the EOSC Finland node. So I'll do the perhaps less exciting, but still a very practical side of things of telling you the process of applying for these grants and how this works in practice. So Gravity, they're called Gravity because the money is coming from an EOS project, EOS Gravity. So that's where the name comes from, cascading grants. And we've been talking about this one in red. So inter-project grant call for onboarding services for existing nodes. But just so that you are aware, there are 3 different calls happening at the same time. So, to make the distinction is that there is a Federation enrollment call. So EOSC is looking for new nodes. So we currently have the current candidate nodes and as well as the EU node, but they are looking for new nodes to be developed in 2026. So they have a call for this. And then they have a preparatory grant call. So this is for potential future nodes. So people who aren't yet ready to actually actively start developing a node, but they want to do a project charter and map out what do they need to do to get there. So they have their separate call as well. But the one that we're talking about is this inter-project grant call, and this is where EOSC Finland comes in. What's the money that's available? 50,000 euros per project. I'll talk a little bit about the different kind of rules around this shortly. But of course, the deadline for this call is 18th of February 2026, 5 o'clock Central European time. So to go a little bit further into these inter-project grants, these are slides from EOS Gravity project themselves. So the information is coming from here. But again, it's a 6-month project to expand the EOSC Federation services and show the benefits for end users. So again, that might be a scientific use case, or as we've been talking, piloting onboarding of new services into EOSC nodes. And again, these new services can be resources, data repositories, something like this. So, good time for you to think of, what do you have that you think you would want to onboard onto the national node. Now, this is something good to keep in mind as well. So I said that this deadline is on the 18th of February. But for these inter-project grants, there are going to be 2 calls in 2026. So this is the first one with the February deadline. And then the second call will be run later on in 2026. I don't have the exact dates for it now. The most, kind of accurate time I've been given currently from EOS Gravity is that the second call will run in the summer or after summer. So if you don't think you are ready to put in an application in February, then maybe you can do it later on in the summer. But with a caveat that I will come back to. Now, eligible applicants, RIs, universities, RPOs, institutes, experts from the wider RI landscape, organizations piloting service onboarding as well. And Jessica already mentioned this, the eligibility criteria is that you have an endorsement from the node that you plan to work with, in this case, EOSC Finland node. Now, the expected outcomes of this grant is that you have deployed a use case or some kind of pilot service onboarding. And what you actually then need to show as proof is you need to provide documentation, training material and lessons learned material that are going to be utilized in EOSC Academy. EOSC Academy is new, so if you haven't heard of that before, it's something that's being developed, and that's also why they want training materials to build up EOSC Academy. So this shows the timeline of where we are. The calls are already open. February, again, is when you have the deadline, and followed by a 2-month evaluation period. Then the results will come in late April, And after this, you've got a couple of weeks to sign if you have been successful. And on the 6th of May is when these projects will actually then start with a mandatory remote kick-off meeting. Now, with the 6 months, it means that the project ends on the 10th of December 2026. And this was the caveat that I mentioned earlier. So if you don't think you can make the February deadline and are thinking you'll wait for the call in the summer, the caveat is this, that it's very likely that for EOSC Finland, that a project linked to our node, we will most likely only get one of these grants because they will be very competitive. So if you decide to wait until summer, maybe if we are successful with an application already in this first call in February, then by summer your application probably won't be successful. However, if in this first round we don't have any projects linked to EOSC Finland node, then that door remains open for you. So that's a kind of balance that you need to have a think about within your organization. Okay, so I said that there's some limitations in terms of how the money is distributed. So this is to say, if you are planning to apply for a preparatory call to develop your own project charter for a node, you can do that and still get inter-project money as well. So between these two, there's 100K max, but this might not be relevant for the room today. In which case this one is, again, more relevant. So you can get in this call one, so the February call, the maximum is 50K. And if you receive the full 50K, then that's you can't apply for any more. But of course, you don't have to ask for the maximum amount of money. Maybe you are only applying for 20,000, in which case there is a chance for you to apply for further the missing 30K, for instance, in the second call. So you can also divide this as well. But if you are interested in these rules, then you will find all of this detailed information from the EOSC Gravity call website, which we will get to now. So maybe I can I copy this without breaking the presentation? This is, well, we'll share the slides in any case, but maybe you've already taken a look. But to apply, you go to the EOSC EU website for the grants. And you can see here that there are the 3 different calls. And again, the inter-projects one is the one that we're focusing on. Now, to apply, you first have to ignore this panel and go to this link that's right beneath them. So step number 1 is to create an account on the ESF platform. That's the platform for the grants. So first, go here, create yourself an account, and then come back to this pink square here that says apply. So counterintuitive slightly, first go below, then go and click here to actually get to the application portal. And that then takes you to the portal itself, which is being run by the European Science Foundation, ESF. And once you're in, you will then find the open calls after you've logged in, and you will find the inter-project grants here as well with the deadline. And please take a note that again, that 5 o'clock on February 18th is in, well, here it says Paris, so French time, but Central European time. So just be mindful of that time difference of an hour with Finland. The application itself is relatively straightforward once you click into the form. Again, the kind of basics, but I've highlighted here a few things that are of interest. So one is that there is a section on the EOSC landscape, and you are asked to ask, do you operate within the wider EOSC landscape? Obviously, if your answer is no, then that's also fine. But the EOSC landscape is quite rich, and there are different ways in which individuals, organizations might be involved. So there's a list of the different things. There are task forces. There are these open opportunity area expert groups as well. But you can see here that there's always a link that will take you to a list of what they are. So if you are not sure what they are, or if you're not sure if your organization is involved in these, you can follow those links to see if you do indeed have existing EOSC links. But if you don't, it's not a requirement. Now, and then this, as you scroll down the form, then you get to this node support. So you have to say which node you're working with, and you need to add your endorsement. So essentially, this is what you will do. It's EOSC Finland is the node that you hope to work with, and then your endorsement is an attachment, which is an email from Jessica. And then at the very end, then you actually get to the templates that you have to submit as part of the application. So the form on the website is relatively quick to fill in, but then this template, which you will again find, you have to scroll through the end of the application to find the download link. But this is what it looks like. Can you see, are you looking at Word right now? If Jessica nods, I'll see. Yeah, okay, you are. Okay, great. So this is the actual then template for the application. Again, if you are looking to onboard a service, then this is what you want to do. And you have to write, define the project scope, demonstrate excellence. Then there's an impact section for strategy, relevance, scalability, community engagement. So for those of us who work with grant applications, it's a lot of the usual boxes that you need to write about: a structure, a work plan, project management, then documentation, quality and risk management, and then a budget breakdown, which helpfully has no word limitation as well. And you can see here that again the breakdown is per partner in case of consortia. So you can also apply for your organization, or there can also be a scenario where you've created a consortium and you are applying jointly with another organization as well. So that is how the application looks like and how these Gravity grants are run. I'll kind of wrap up by also saying this isn't the only potential source of EOSC funding in 2026. So I'll just make everyone also aware of another project, which is called EOSC Fidelis. And this is a project that is then looking to develop a different part of the EOSC landscape. So you can see here that they are focusing on trustworthy repositories in particular. And I'll highlight this here. I mean, they are doing a few different things. They have a peer-to-peer mentoring program. They are also doing open training activities, and they have, I believe, a workshop on fair enabling data policy for a checklist for repositories coming up as well. So if that's of relevance to you, then that's also coming up soon. And this is a project that is coordinated by CSC. But this is the one here on the top left in blue here, is that they do have support for the adoption of solutions. So there is a mix of financial support and expert guidance to support repositories to implement and adopt good practices, tools, services, and other solutions to increase trustworthiness. So there is going to be a call for this in April 2026 with an opportunity also here to get financial support. So if you are working with the repository and their definition of a repository is very flexible, then this is also flagging this up as something that's happening next year in the EOSC landscape. And that's it for now. So I'll stop sharing and we'll stop the recording, and we welcome questions on indeed the grants, or indeed any ideas you might have in terms of how to make good use